choosing the right business, whether that business is an independent business, whether that business is a franchise business, that experience, it can be exhilarating. It can be hopeful, but it can also be frustrating. It can be scary. Some of the clients that I've counseled over the years to help find a franchise have described the process to me as overwhelming. And franchise friends, it's not hard to understand why, because at any given time, there are over 3,000 franchises operating in this country across hundreds of different industries with different business models that are always evolving. And every year, about 300 new franchises join the fray. This presents the problem of choice overload, where you have too many choices. And because you have too many options to choose from, it actually hurts your ability to make a good decision. But if you're going to buy a franchise, you've got to start somewhere. And if you've tried Google, going down that rabbit hole, if you've tried Phone a Friend, if you tried 50/50, and you're still feeling overwhelmed by choices, I've got a tip for you. Try effectuation. But what the heck is effectuation? Great question. So effectuation is a way of thinking and decision making, and it's based on the idea that entrepreneurs create their future by taking actions and making things happen. Sounds like you? Effectuation's been around for a couple of decades. It was introduced by Professor Saraswati in the early 2000s, and it's based on her research of studying a whole bunch of very successful entrepreneurs in different industries. It's basically looking at how entrepreneurs take action. And it has 5 principles or rules, but we're only going to cover the first one today. And the first one is bird in hand, or you got to do what you can where you are with what you've got. And that applies when you're searching for the right franchise. So you ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, who am I? And you've got to think about your taste, your abilities, your skills, your traits. You write them down. Question number 2, what do I know? Think about your education. Think about your professional experience. Life experience is helpful too. And question number 3 you have to ask yourself is, who do I know? That's your professional and your social network. And you can use the first rule of effectuation, bird in hand, to smash the choice overload problem and make your search of 3,000 plus franchises easier. Now, I've got 4 scenarios that I'm excited to share with you today that will show you how to use this whole effectuation bird in hand rule to make your search more manageable. Scenario 1, you've decided to buy a franchise and you're gonna give this effectuation bird in hand thing a try. So the first question you ask yourself is, who am I? What are my traits? What are my preferences? What are my abilities? What am I willing to put up with in a business? And what am I not willing to put up with? You might ask yourself these questions and decide that the perfect franchise for you is one that uses very few employees. Great. Ask yourself the second question. What do I know? What is my training? What is my education? What is my professional experience? Maybe you work in corporate America and you're good with numbers. Maybe you manage budgets. Maybe you're great at managing key performance indicators and you're organized. Well, an area you want to look at then is salon suite franchises. And if you're not familiar with salon suites, these are franchises, they've been around for a while. These are franchises where you go into Class A retail space, typically 7,000, 10,000 square feet, sometimes larger, and you chop them up. You chop them up into individual suites and you rent those to typically beauty professionals, stylists, barbers, people that do pedicures, manicures, even weight management professionals. This is a real estate play franchise. You charge these folks rent in exchange for allowing them to operate in the suite. They rent them from you. And you only need 1 employee to manage these locations. I've even seen some of these locations managed by no employee. The owner replaced the employee with an automated kiosk that does all the functions. Now, if this is your thing, couple of franchises to look at are Salons by JC and Phoenix Salon Suite. Another great area to look at if you want a franchise that doesn't require many employees is the portable storage and moving space. Now, these are franchises that are like pod. Your customer rents them from you, they fill up the pod or the container, and then you haul it away either to an open field or you put it in a warehouse space. And you charge the customer for picking their stuff up, for storing it, and for bringing it back to them when they need their stuff. This is a franchise that's great for somebody who not only doesn't want a lot of employees, but wants equipment and vehicles to do the work, to drive the revenue for them. And it also helps you if you have some leadership and some management experience. But you can run the salon suites and you can run the portable storage franchises semi-absentee and keep your job. And by the way, on the portable storage franchises, look at Unit and Cool Bins, BINZ. Scenario 2. So you've asked yourself, who am I? What would I prefer in a business? Maybe your answer is, I'd really like to find a franchise where I could work the business part of the year and I could take part of the year off. I could spend it traveling. I could spend it hanging out with my family. I could spend it visiting friends that I haven't seen for years and catching up with them. Maybe you use that time to start another business. Or maybe you use it to learn salsa dancing. Maybe you also decided that you prefer a business that has high customer retention, that once you win a customer, you keep that customer by predictably and reliably servicing them. And maybe you ask yourself, what do I know? What's my experience and my training? Maybe you're good with people. Maybe you have experience managing people, and maybe you're somebody who likes to be involved in your local community. If that's all the case, then you absolutely need to look at pest control franchises like Mosquito Shield or Mosquito Hunters or Mosquito Joe. Also, look at more general pest services franchises like Truly Nolan, where they do everything from mosquito and tick control to getting rid of snakes and rodents. Now, pest control franchises, depending where you live in the country, can be seasonal businesses. They also typically have very ridiculously high, actually, customer retention rates, as high as 95%. So once you do get your customer, you're very likely to keep them. Third scenario, you've asked yourself all of the bird in hand questions, and you'd be excited about a franchise business that would get you up from behind your desk, out of your office, and out of an office building altogether, and into the great outdoors. You also don't mind the idea of getting your hands dirty as a business owner. You're also excited about having a business that's niche, one that there aren't 5 or 10 or 20 other franchises in that space. And if that's all true, then look at something like Oh Deer, which is a deer repellent and pest control franchise. They keep deer away from houses, businesses, and office buildings. It's a good one for somebody who wants something unique, different, and a little out there. Fourth and final scenario. After answering all of the bird in hand questions, you realize that you're somebody who genuinely likes people. You are compassionate. You are somebody who is relied upon frequently by your family members, by your friends, by your colleagues. And you realize that you would be great at owning a business that shows up for other people who are going through some of the absolute worst times in their lives. And if that's true, look at the biohazard cleanup space. These are franchises that, frankly, they do things that most other people won't do. They do everything from clean up crime scenes and hoarding situations and trauma scenes. They dispose of medical waste. They remove mold from buildings. Yeah, none of it's sexy and it's not for the faint of heart, but the services are absolutely necessary. And it allows the business owner to be a bit of a hero for their customers, even if it's only for a few hours. Now, this is also a space where the question, who do I know, is especially relevant. Police officers and firefighters and paramedics and other first responders do really well in these franchises because of their colleagues, of their network. They're going to get calls from the fire station or the hospital or the police station when there's an emergency that needs your services. It's also a very lucrative space. Another space that you want to look at is contents restoration or contents cleaning. Now, this is a space where you have franchises that restore people's personal property, usually a homeowner that suffers property damage. Now, you're not touching the walls, the floor, the ceiling, but what you're doing is you're packing out their personal property that's been damaged, you're taking it to a warehouse space, and you're cleaning as much of it as you can. And when you're done, you return it to the house for the owner. Now, one of the things I like about this space is that it combines moving and storage. And pretty much no homeowners can do this on their own, so there's always a need for it. And by the way, all of the work is paid for by insurance companies, so you're not chasing down homeowners or accounts receivable to get paid. When you're searching for franchises, and if choice overload becomes a real problem for you, debilitating, keeping you from finding the right franchise, I recommend asking yourself the 3 bird in hand questions. Who am I? What do I know? And who do I know? And if you do that, I think you'll find that it will make your search more manageable because it's going to force you to focus on what is absolutely the most important thing to you in running a business. Call it your true motivation. Well, as always, I really appreciate it when you comment and you like and you subscribe. Until next time, stay hungry, stay focused.